And so Judas Iscariot had the power to cast out demons, but covetousness has gotten into Judas's heart, and he's the treasurer of the organization. And somehow or other he's given way to the sin of stealing, the temptation of stealing, and now he's a thief. He's backslidden. Nobody else knows that except Jesus. I mean, Judas is a really nice guy. Nobody had a clue among the 12 that Judas was going to betray. So Judas didn't have a diabolical look and an evil cast to his eye. Listen to what happens. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, he was come from God and he went to God. Now, all things mean he's in charge. And things aren't the way they should be. His disciples are jockeying for position. Look at what happens. And then I'll explain a little bit more here. He riseth from supper and lays aside his garments. And he takes a towel and he girds himself. After that he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. Then he came to Simon Peter. Now, remember this when I explained to you the arrangement in just a moment. When he comes to Simon, nobody squawks until he comes to Simon Peter. They're all just keeping their mouth shut, let Jesus wash their feet. They come to Simon Peter, and Peter says unto him, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? Jesus answered and said unto him, What I do you don't know right now, but you shall know hereafter. Peter said unto him, You shall never wash my feet. It's going to be more clear in a few moments why Peter said that. Jesus said to Peter, If I wash thee not, you have no part with me. Whoa, that crushed Peter's heart. Peter said, Oh, Lord, not only my feet, my hands, my head. And Jesus said, He that is washed needeth not except to wash his feet, but is clean every whit. And you all, plural, are clean, but not all. For he knew who should betray him. And so whose feet also did he wash? Here. The betrayer's feet. Remember that. So after he'd washed their feet and had taken his garments and was set down, he said unto them, Do you know what I've done unto you? Well, they really didn't, except, well, duh. You washed our feet. No, they missed it. It was more than washing feet. You call me Master, Lord. You say, well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you ought also to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Some people who only read English translations have come to the conclusion that Jesus is commanding his people from here on out to wash feet. And I submit to you that if Jesus had wanted to institute a foot washing ceremony, he wouldn't have used the Greek word kathos, meaning as. He rather would have used the relative pronoun ha, do that which I have done. In other words, the exact thing which I have done, rather than do as I have given you an example. So Jesus is not saying wash each other's feet for the next 2,000 years. What is he saying? He's saying, get off this kick of being so concerned about what other people think of you that you're willing to have the attitude that I, your Lord and Savior, have. And that's to serve the needs of others no matter what they think of me socially or status-wise. Are you with me? Now read on. Happy, verse 17. Well, 16. The servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that sent greater than he that sent him. And if you know these things, happy are you if you do them. Now I speak not of you all, I know whom I've chosen, but that the scripture may be fulfilled, he that eateth bread with me hath lifted up his heel against me. Now that's shocking to them. Now I tell you before it comes to pass, that when it's come to pass, you may believe that I am he. Verily I say unto you, he that receiveth whomsoever I send receiveth me. He that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me. And when Jesus thus said, he was troubled in spirit, and testified and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. You know, that's a shocker. That's a bombshell. Verse 22, then the disciples looked one on another, doubting of whom he spake. Verse 23, pay attention to this verse. This will make a whole lot more sense in just a few moments. Now there was leaning on Jesus' bosom. Leaning on his bosom. I told you a few moments ago, we have historical proof that they ate the Last Supper reclining. How do you lean on someone's bosom sitting up straight unless you have an ostrich neck? You can't lean on somebody's bosom sitting up right next to them. You can lean on their shoulder, but not on their chest. And so there was one leaning on Jesus' bosom, one of his disciples whom Jesus loved, and all commentators agree that John is humble enough and not to say, me, it was me. But John is writing this, and it was John. And Simon Peter, now notice who gets John's attention. Simon Peter beckoned to him that he should ask who it should be of whom he spake. He then, lying on Jesus' breast, said unto him, Lord, who is it? And Jesus said, to whom I shall give a sop when I've dipped it. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. Now, I come back to verse 34 and 35, then I'm going to explain the setting so you can see this and feel it. Jesus says, a new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I've loved you. Now, my dear friends, we happen to know the setup for the Last Supper. I was privileged, one of the trips I have been to Israel, to be part of a reenactment of this Passover meal. And it was done at a triclinium table. Triclinium, you know the Latin tri means three. A triangle has three angles. A triclinium is a three-sided U-shaped table, 18 inches off the ground. 18 inches off the ground. The mats are spread out. Now, I want you to see this triclinium. Here, the table's about this wide. They put the food placed and out from the triclinium. Here's the U-shaped triclinium. It comes across to the back like this, and then the other leg goes right on down. You see that in your mind? Now, when they walked in the upper room, there, waiting for them, whichever side the door was on, was a bowl of water and a towel. And every one of the disciples and Jesus saw the bowl and the towel, and every one of them knew it was for. That's the job of a servant, that when the guests have been placed according to the order of guest authority. Remember, Jesus said, when you go to a banquet, don't go to the highest seat, take a lower seat. And if the one in charge wants to have you go higher, he'll invite you. And how embarrassing it'd be for him to say, hey, dude, get up. You're not to sit there. Get down lower, and we'll put somebody more important here. You remember Jesus told them that. Well, a triclinium, they had a seating arrangement. And guess who the host is for the Passover meal? Jesus himself. And we happen to know the pecking order, the status order of the triclinium. They walk in, they see that bowl, and there's no servant there to wash their feet. And so I guarantee that every one of them studiously avoided looking at it. Because which one of the 12 is going to say, "Gentlemen, may I have the privilege of washing your feet"? Get real. They're wanting to know who's going to be number 1 and number 2 man. Jesus is giving them a final exam. Have you understood what I've taught you? Have you understood the concept of being a servant to others in a loving way? The answer is what? No. Now, we happen to know that in this triclinium, the place of honor is the second spot from the end, right over here. And you recline on your left side. Your eating hand, your shaking hand is your right hand, never your left. In those Semitic culture, the left hand is for taking care of personal needs. And you didn't offer to shake hand with your left hand. That was the hand that you might have more germs on than your right hand. And so they're all reclining on their left side at the table. Jesus is number 2 in. He's the host. Well, guess where John has to be in order to lean on Jesus' bosom? Can't be behind him. He's right in front of him. That's the second seat of honor next to the host. Second. You're reclining. Jesus said, "The one who's going to betray me, I will dip the sop and hand it to him." He's reclining. Who's within reach? John. And the person right behind him who is in the place of honor. Get a hold of this. The place of honor. Guess who was in the place of honor? Who did Jesus put in the place of honor among the 12? It's Judas Iscariot. Now, if that's not mind-boggling, that's mind-boggling. But just see these disciples and Jesus reclining. They're eating. And where do you think Simon Peter is? Simon Peter notices where John is placed. Where is John placed? Second most important spot. Judas gets the first important spot, and it goes on down in social prominence this way until it comes around this way. And the lowest spot on the totem pole is the guy who's on the end down here, reclining on his left side. And where do you think John, who's going to be able to get John's eye and say to John, "John, ask him who it is"? Most likely, I can't prove it, but most likely, the Sherlock Holmes method of deduction, knowing about the triclinium, suggests that Peter was down here, last man on the totem pole. Probably Jesus put him there on purpose to see if he caught on that. Peter, are you into self? Are you concerned about what people think, or have you caught the message? And so Peter's right down there, and by all likelihood, if he's there, whoever's there should have got that pan and girded himself with that towel, and then went over to the host, washed his feet, and then the guest of honor right next to him, and then the second, and then gone all the way around. And another reason I suggest, not only that Peter is able to catch John's eye there, is that, as I point out, who of all the 12 squawked and didn't want his feet washed? And why do you suppose Peter, "Lord, you're not washing my feet"? I guarantee about that time Peter was feeling pretty bad about himself. It's interesting. Another clue to suggest what I'm saying to you is most likely correct on the arrangement